woman who needs absolutely no introduction. That would be the comedian of our era. Someone who, I don't know why right now she's just giving me flashbacks to George Burns. That would be the one and only Rosanne Barr. Rosanne, thank you for coming on the show. And what is that in your mouth? Can I ask?
It's a cigar that you sent me. Thank you so much. When I was on Megyn Kelly's show, I found a cigar in the dressing room and I was really craving a cigarette, trying not to smoke. And so I just unwrapped this one and started chawing on it. And it released all this tobacco to help me with my craving. And you were so sweet. You sent me a whole box of these wonderful things. And so here I am. I think I am the new George Burns. I loved how he used the cigar to punctuate his jokes. So I've been playing that game like, I'm old now, and I can do it. It's a great prop. Plus it's delicious.
I am so glad. I felt so unchivalrous because when I saw you at the premiere out in LA for Bircham, you play the Principal Bortles on Bircham. It's a great show. Roseanne's performance, of course, is marvelous. You should all go watch it. But when I saw you, I got to tell you, Roseanne, I was a little bit starstruck, and I don't really get starstruck. I meet plenty of famous people, but I grew up watching your show. You are like the comedian of our age, and on top of that, you gave Norm Macdonald his first job in Hollywood, which bowled me over even more. And so it didn't even occur to me, though it should have, that you would smoke cigars. So I'm glad you got the box, and I'm very glad you're here, and I'm glad we got you this week because it seems like the entire American political system has collapsed. In the last 72 hours or so.
Yeah, definitely.
I assume you have a hot take on all of it, but maybe not. Maybe you say, forget about it. I don't want to deal with American politics.
Oh no, I live for it. I live for it right now because we're in history. We're in living history, and it's just fantastic. And I'm glad you said what you said in your opening. I'm glad that you bring a religious connotation to everything because I really think it's quite biblical. And, I study Torah. I'm a religious Jewish person. I'm kind of an unconventional religious Jewish person. And because I'm a free thinker, but I like that it seems that although it seems dark, and horrifying and a terrible miscarriage of justice, what's happened to President Trump, making a mockery of our judicial system, what they've done. And that's stunning and disappointing to all Americans who love our constitutional republic and our Constitution and everything that hangs on it. I always look at the bright side of things because of my faith and always know God's in charge of everything and that he does work in mysterious ways. And so I try to look at the bright side of it and go, this is so God moving in the world because if you look at it, it's that these people who are, really trying to destroy America. You know how Trump says they're not really after me, they're after you, and I'm just in their way. Well, America is all that stands in the way of their global one world Nazi government. So they're not really after America. They're after the entire world, and America is all that stands in their way, just like Trump says. But the silver lining in it is that these people are just exposing themselves in front of us. And I think that it's our job to witness it and let it register up here in the penthouse of thought. We have to witness it and not write it off, not explain it, not just call it political because it's something greater than political. It's deeply spiritual. And to watch these people undo themselves with their arrogance, which the Bible says arrogance and ignorance are the exact same thing. They always go together. They're two sides of the same coin, and they undo the holder, the person who is arrogant, is always ignorant as well, and thinks they are getting away with something that they're not getting away with because they're exposing themselves. And this is part of the great awakening. People are seeing it, and this is a great, great thing that Americans are able to see it and register it and now do something about it. And Americans are doing something about it from the grassroots up, as every revolution starts at the grassroots, and I think it's a revolution in thought and awareness. And as I say, the Great Awakening is followed by, or happens parallel to, the great unraveling. And these people are unraveling. As soon as they expose themselves, they unravel. And I think it is very biblical in that, because we don't have to do anything to cause their demise. They do it themselves. And all we have to do is witness it and, then talk to each other and begin. I think it's already begun, but jump on board this train of freedom, this train of truth, this train of the people, by the people, and for the people.
I love that observation, Rosanne, the observation about observation, which is we're called to witness these things. Their foot shall slide in due time. We're called to witness these things. It reminds me of, in the story of Jesus goes to the home of Mary and Martha, and, Mary is at his feet, listening, and Martha's going out, getting the lunch ready and busying herself. And there are signs of the active life versus the contemplative life. And Jesus says, Martha, your sister has the better part, that we're called primarily to interpret signs. It's a wicked generation that seeks signs and wonders, but we could also say a stupid generation ignores signs and wonders. We're the rational creature. The way we communicate is through signs and symbols. And I love it too, because it seems to me that is what a comedian does. A comedian looks around, observes things that other people don't see, or they're so caught up in their own heads, they just ignore. And then the comedian shines a light on that. There's so much more to say. First, though, go to puretalk.com/Knowles. The cost of living is up almost 20% from 2021, and families everywhere are feeling the burden. If you're looking at your bills, wondering how in the world you can save on monthly expenses, start with your phone bill. I'm happy to announce that Pure Talk is now providing international roaming to over 50 countries. Once again, Pure Talk is investing in their customers with their own money and without charging you an extra penny. As you plan your summer travel, make sure your wireless provider has you covered at home and abroad. Pure Talk already puts you on America's most dependable 5G network. Enjoy the freedom of unlimited talk, text, and ample 5G data for just $20 a month with Pure Talk. This is a deal that is hard to beat, costing you less than half of what you'd pay with other networks. Not only is their U.S. customer service team ready to assist you with a seamless switch, but they also have fantastic savings on the latest iPhones and Androids. Are you ready to make a smart switch? Join my cell phone company, Pure Talk, and start saving today. puretalk.com/Knowles, Knowles, to explore their offers. When you make the switch, you will enjoy an additional 50% off your first month. Don't miss out on the opportunity to save on wireless at home and abroad. Visit puretalk.com/Knowles. That is puretalk.com/Knowles. So, Rosanne, I think you're totally right. I actually didn't realize that you were all that religious. Though, actually, there was one time I remember I was watching an interview of you with Norm, and somehow religion came up, because he was also kind of like oddly or secretly somewhat religious too, and it didn't.
Yeah, so, he was.
What is your take on, I don't know, I guess the state of modern comedy? Because I think the comedians that I really like in recent years, it's like 5 of them, it's like you, Norm, a few people who are still alive, but a lot of modern comedy I don't really watch. And I can't help but notice that the comedians who I really like keep getting canceled in really pointed, obviously intentional ways. What happened to you was a complete travesty. It was so unjust, because you have finally someone who's original, who's coming out, who's obviously very popular. When your show came back on the air, it was, after years, decades away, it was a huge hit. And then they just canceled you again. I think, what's that about?
It was purely political, and it was purely personal too. And it, the bottom line is that I like Trump. And, but even more than that, even worse than that is that they didn't want, when I came back and I told them I want to show America the way I see it, and supposedly they liked me for that for all those years. But I wanted to show the divide in America and how we could heal it. I wanted there to be a Trump hater and a Hillary hater in the same family, because that's what it was, that, and it still is. And that they still loved each other. They disagreed and sometimes they fought, but yet they still loved each other. And I thought that that was so missing. And that's why I came back to television, because I thought I could address that and do something about it. I thought I could help make that funny, put a spotlight on it, do something about it, make us able to converse about it, because it was just, a deadhead. You weren't able to say anything about it. And, so I think more than anything, like I always say, fascists, the two things they hate the most is dialogue and humor. And I hit the jackpot. And so and also race. They always tried to prevent me from saying anything about race and class. They allowed me to say things about class, but not race within class. Yeah. Because the working class of America is the most integrated class in America. And so I wanted to address that, like Dan Connor's partner was a Black man, his partner in business is a Black man, and his wife was one of my best friends in the Connor family. So Adela Barnes, who played the character. And we were able to converse and bring these things up. And ABC at the time was really, they had a lot of BLMers in their management. And, as a Jew, I can smell Jew haters from a mile away, because I grew up in Salt Lake City, and it was kind of a fact of life for me there in a lot of contexts, because I was probably the only, my brothers and sisters were always the only Jew at school, and blah, blah, we are identifiable minority. And so my brother had his nose broken 9 times by the time he was 9 years old. And they used to wait for my brother to come out of class and beat him up, and he'd just go, I got to get beat up, then go home, get my homework done. It was just a fact of life. So I grew up with it. And anyway, I can smell it. And the way they would look at me, because they knew that I liked Trump, it wasn't that they hated Jews so much as they hated people who liked Trump. And I did not want to play the one who was the Trump lover in the show, but none of the other characters would do it.
You're kidding me.
No. And I said, it's too on the nose for me to be the Trump supporter in this family. It's too on the nose, on the head, but they wouldn't do it. So, it fell to me to do it. And
wow, that's an amazing insight, Roseanne, because it shows obviously a really great writing impulse to say, no, you don't want the expected thing to happen. You want to subvert expectations. So you're saying, no, guys, it's too on the nose. People know me, so it's going to be much more narratively engaging. If it's whatever, Dan is the Trump supporter and I'm the liberal or whatever.
Well, he's the one I wanted to do it, but John Goodman didn't want to do it.
Wow.
So, it looked as if I was crusading, I think, to them.
Right.
But I had no choice. I wasn't crusading. What I wanted to do was to show both opinions. And, because I'm a fair person, and I thought America was about being fair and showing two sides of everything, because it is that way in reality, or always was. When I grew up, you always had two sides of everything. And I felt like on television, it's your kind of duty to represent two sides, not like be the View where you're crusader. They're all communist crusaders.
Right.
And there's not one, there's never been a real Jew except Whoopi Goldberg, who is a cultural appropriator of Judaism.
She's adopted some kind of Judaism. I don't know.
No, she's in no way any kind of a Jew, except for it's a joke. It's Jew face. And she's it's so despicable and offensive to me. But and to Jews like me, especially now. But there she is with her saying that the Holocaust was just white people against white people.
Right.
She has no idea about anything, and then Joy, I don't know where the hell she's an alien.
I think that's probably fair. At least 50% alien. I don't know her exact makeup, but the point.
She's from another planet. Yeah. She's from a whole other planet.
The point on race, though, Roseanne, is so good because it seems obvious now.
They were so despicable and always were. When I tried to bring Black characters on my show in the beginning, I wanted one of the women in the factory, of course, I wanted to have everybody represented because the working class, like I say, is so completely integrated.
Well, that's the point. It's much more integrated than the ruling class. The ruling class, they talk about race all the time, but they live in segregated neighborhoods. They send their kids to segregated schools. Where it really is the working class is by far the most racially integrated class in the country.
Absolutely. Data shows that. But, because it's post-racial. Whereas the elites, they're still in it because they can't leave it behind because they make money off, they fundraise off it. So they have to keep it going so they can fundraise off ending it, but they live it.
Wow.
So, they didn't, the first Black character on my show, they wanted to name her Juanita Epstein or something after Whoopi Goldberg, of course. And it was despicable to me. And so I said, no, that was a big fight. And then in the factory, they would bring in all these Black people and they make them stand in the back. And I went to the New York Times and gave an interview and said, this can't be from the producers of The Cosby Show. And anyway, so they hated me always. And then when I wanted to have a mixed race granddaughter, they about freaked out over that one. But I insisted, and so they said they couldn't find any mixed race girls to play the part. And
they always say in Hollywood, there's a shortage of actors and actresses. You can't find them. It's just too hard out there.
Especially if they're a little mixed race right. girl. They can't find none of them over there.
No, none.
Or in the United States. I said, well, maybe you could cast in Chicago or New York if you can't find any here. Oh, and they found a very dark-skinned girl who wasn't mixed. And I just loved her. And I said, oh, what the hell? I don't care, because I just loved her. And she had good comic timing. She was a little doll. And so, it was.
But then they cancel you for racism. Basically, is how it at least.
Yeah, those people who said when I'd say we have to have Black writers in here because the working class is made up of a lot of Black people. It's like it's almost 30 to 40% Black. So we have to have Black writers to write this. Oh no, we don't. These old Jewish men, they can write for Black people, and then it's watermelon jokes.
Right.
I'm not kidding. And I would just freak and say, no, we're not going to. Then don't say anything about race. Ignore it. Be post-racial. Don't say anything.
Roseanne, I have about 100.
I would rather they said nothing than their ideas, which were despicable.
Of course.
And racist. But they're the ones who called me a racist.
Of course. I didn't even know all of that backstory. So I have about 1,000 more questions for you. And unfortunately, I'm already over time on my show. But at some point, if I'm traveling out by you or you happen to make your way to Nashville, we must get you on for like a proper 2-hour, sit down. I will bring the cigars. It will, we'll do the whole thing. But in the meantime, Roseanne, thank you very much for taking the time, and I will look forward to the next one.
Well, thank you for your wonderful questions, and thank you for your narrative. I wanted to say one thing before you kick me out of here.
Yeah.
Did you know that the whole trans philosophy thing was written by a pedophile?
Really? I'm not surprised.
Yeah. Google it.
I like, Roseanne just decides, she goes, oh yeah, before I leave, I'm just going to drop this like bomb right into the center of the show. I'm going to get everyone
should Google it to see that it is true. And it is so closely tied. Those two things are so closely tied, which is why gay and lesbians are trying to break away from the T. Right. And I hope they do, because it's not to their advantage.
All right, everyone, between today's show and tomorrow's show, Google that. Maybe don't go. I don't know if you'll probably lead you down a rabbit hole. But then I'll Google it.
You should know the truth, and the truth will set you free. And there is no liberty without truth.
That's very, very true.
God bless America. God bless you too.
Thank you, Roseanne. You too. Now we have a topic for tomorrow to talk about. Thank you, Roseanne. We'll see you next time. That was good, man. Now subscribe to the Michael Knowles YouTube channel. Please, and thank you. See you next time.